Alright, so 2023's You People is a Netflix original film directed by Kenya Barris, who created the shows Blackish and Black AF, and the screenplay is by Kenya Barris as well as Jonah Hill. The film follows an interracial couple played here by Jonah Hill, who plays Ezra, and Lauren London, who plays Amira, and they're at the point in their relationship where it's time to introduce each other to their families, as well as introduce the families to each other. Of course, since their families are polar opposites, not just because their skin colors are different, but because they have different religious backgrounds and maybe different political opinions as well, there is definitely going to be a clash. And for the parents of Amira, we have Eddie Murphy playing Akbar and Nia Long playing Fatima. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. And the parents of Ezra, we have Julia Louis-Dreyfus playing Shelley and David Duchovny playing Arnold. Start off by saying the biggest standouts in this movie for me personally were Jonah Hill and Lauren London. I like their chemistry on screen. I just wish we would have gotten a little bit more of that meet cute with them before jumping ahead in time, just for Jonah Hill, of course, to meet Eddie Murphy's character. And you might notice I didn't say Eddie Murphy was a standout. Honestly, this is one of his more toned down, more one-note roles that I've seen in quite a long time, if ever. I really just didn't care for him in this film, and honestly, I feel like he didn't even care for him in this film. His character was always very serious, but also very passive-aggressive towards pretty much everybody he came into contact with, making his character very unlikable, but honestly, most of the characters in this movie are unlikable, aside from the two main leads. The humor very much is dry in this film. It also very much is awkward at a lot of times, mainly with Jonah Hill's character. Some of the most awkward scenes, but also made me laugh so hard just because of how hard I was cringing. I was cringing in a good way. But also, this movie is close to 2 hours long, so the more that went on, the less funny it was over time. Which is where I kind of got to get into my complaints. The more this movie goes on, the less I like it. It started off pretty strong, and I was enjoying it very much. But again, the more it went on, the more it started to lose me. And part of that is just because they make some of these characters in here so unlikable. Like I said, I mean, Eddie Murphy's character, I just did not like the guy in this movie, and most of the people in here just seem awful. And one of the worst ones by far is Julia Louis-Dreyfus. But the one thing I will say is her character's awful, but probably in the most realistic way out of everybody in this movie. She's the type of character to just blurt something out without thinking about it and say something offensive without even realizing it. And I feel like most of us have known somebody like that at one point or another in our lives. So even though she was realistic, her character still was awful. And the little redemption they tried to have for her character by the end just didn't work because of the things that came before. And honestly, the same goes for Eddie Murphy's character. I guess at the end of the day, the thing I would really want more from this film is just seeing more of Ezra and Amira, especially, like I said in the beginning, seeing more of them actually getting to know each other in the beginning, because they skip ahead pretty quickly. They just kind of montage through it, showing them getting more comfortable with each other. And then they just go right to the idea of, hey, I want to marry your daughter. So, I mean, that's not a huge spoiler or anything, they say it in the trailer, but yeah, I mean, it's a big step and you just don't really see that development, but you still feel the chemistry between them. So at the very least, that along with over 50% of the comedy in this film is really what works for me, but everything else about it kind of falls flat. Again, the one thing with Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character, I thought they did pretty well at making her a realistically awful person. And of course, the last thing I should talk about with this movie, of course, it's a black and white type of movie, you know, addressing the issues between the two different races. It's very heavy-handed on its message. I know I'm a white guy. There's certain aspects to this I probably shouldn't speak about because I have no place in talking about it. But from my point of view in this movie, the message kind of came before the humor and the story. The message kind of seems like the thing they started with and built the movie around it, and it kind of feels like it should be the other way around. I'm not too familiar with a lot of Kenya Barris's filmography, but I've heard that it is a common theme in a lot of his movies and shows for that message to be kind of heavy-handed, but for me personally, it's not something that works in this movie, whereas it might work in a show like Blackish. I think since this film is a comedy, these comedic actors should have had a little bit more space to breathe. I literally think that Jonah Hill is just mentioned as a writer because a lot of what he says in the film feels like improv, which is why I'm probably laughing a lot of the time at the stuff that he's saying, is because he is very good at being a very awkward person, you know, when it comes to his style of acting in these really uncomfortable situations. So those moments really did make me laugh. Just him not knowing how to handle a situation, just making it worse by every breath he takes. But yeah, for the most part, I do feel like a lot of the comedy that works because it's the actors and not the writing. I know this review sounds really negative, but honestly, in a month that hasn't had that many great movies, this one kind of stands out above them just for making me laugh. But at the end of the day, there are still very big issues with this film. It's not a perfect film by any means, and it falls flat in a lot of areas. So I'm going to have to go ahead and give this one a standard subscription with ads. The kind of movie that's worth checking out if you're interested in it, but if you're not, don't waste your time because it's probably not going to be something you're going to like. And if it is something that you are interested in, go ahead and add it to your list. But if you have something else that you're really wanting to watch, go ahead and watch that first before watching this, because this movie in no way is a priority. But have you seen 2023's You People? What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? I would love to hear your opinion down in the comments below. Have you not seen it? Are you planning on watching it anytime soon? Why or why not? Leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I will see you in the next one.